this is what we're going to jump in on our next segment. The Mexican Zapatista movement, I don't know if you guys remember or know, the Zapatista movement, the Ejército Zapatista de Liberación Nacional, EZLN, which was an indigenous army who broke out on 1994 on the streets of Chiapas to make a point of the land for the indigenous people down there, the rights for the indigenous people, and also to go against the Tratado de Libre Comercio, the TLC, it's called in Mexico, or NAFTA in the US, because, of course, they knew that this was going to fuck over all the Mexican indigenous communities that farm their own product, right? Most of these guys were farming corn, which is widely popular and widely commercialized in Mexico. A lot of tortillas and that kind of stuff, a lot of our meals are based out of corn. But when the NAFTA took place in 1994, we opened up to trade, right? International trade. The promise was you can now sell these corn to the U.S. and make a better living. But what ended up happening is that Mexico ended up importing corn from the U.S. with a lot of transgenics, and no one is buying the Mexican local product, right? Natural, organic stuff that no one wants because of these NAFTA. Well, now the Zapatistas are, I don't know if the word will be threatening, but they are advising that Mexico is on the verge of a civil war. No other place than in Chiapas. We spoke about this a couple of episodes ago when I told you that there was the first indigenous criminal cartel in Chiapas called Cartel de los Chamula. There is also the Zapatista movement that still exists, very active on their own communities. And we have the Mayos and the Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación fighting for turf in Chiapas. And now we have hundreds of thousands of immigrants being flown down to Chiapas to get trapped on these cities so they don't reach the U.S.-Mexican northern border. Let's read out these interesting article by El País. Mexico Zapatistas warn Chiapas is on the verge of civil war. In a statement signed by 1,000 leading figures, including Noam Chomsky and Diego Luna, the EZLN said that they are coming under attack from paramilitary groups who act with the passive and active complicity of the authorities. On May 22, Jorge López Santis was hit by a bullet. It was an attack that also hit the heart of Mexico Zapatistas movement, the far-left group that controls territory in the southern state of Chiapas. López Santis was injured in a paramilitary attack against the Moises Gandhi community, which is part of the Lucio Cabañas municipality controlled by the Zapatista Army of National Liberation. The aggression appears to have been the final straw for the Zapatistas, which has said enough is enough. The group, which for years has been hesitant about public announcements, has denounced the rise in violence in Chiapas and called an international day of protest on June 8th. Contrary to tradition, the announcement was not made via press release from Subcomandante Galeano, the man behind the ski mask who has symbolized the movement since he went public in 1994 under the nom de guerre Subcomandante Marcos. Instead, the Zapatistas issued a statement that was signed by more than 800 international organizations and more than 1,000 leading political and cultural figures, including U.S. intellectual Noam Chomsky, actors Diego Luna, Gael García Bernal, and Daniel Jiménez Cacho, director Alfonso Cuarón, and writers Guadalupe Nettel and Gabriela Jauregui. The statement in support of the Zapatistas calls out the rise of the paramilitary attacks against the autonomous community and the impunity with which they are met by both the state and federal government. To protest the violence, the Zapatistas have organized a demonstration in Mexico City as well as other actions. So basically, I'm gonna stop right here for a bit. So basically what they're saying is that the corruption of the government and these paramilitary groups that they're not calling properly criminal organizations, criminal insurgencies, or drug cartels, we're calling paramilitary groups, which is very interesting that the EZLN is calling them paramilitary, because these will mean that they're actually working for the Mexican government, right? They're working together. What they want the territory. They want to earn these lands owned by the Zapatistas. And how they're doing this? By attacking them again. Now, With 1994, it was only the Mexican army attacking the Zapatistas. But if they are really working together, now the Zapatistas are gonna have to face the Chamula cartel probably, or if the Chamula cartel actually joins the Zapatistas, they're gonna face the Cartel Jalisco or Los Mayos or both with the Mexican government. And we really don't want this. This will be a bloodshed. Now, interesting stuff also is that this statement is, of course, signed by actors of the far left community in Mexico and international, people like Noam Chomsky, known for being from the far left movement. And the fact that the Zapatistas or these far left movements are calling out that Mexico is on the verge of a civil war means that there is something cooking in Mexico, and a huge leftist or left-wing movement is gonna arise soon. It has happened before. It happened in 1994. It happened several years before. But again, we didn't have an interesting factor we have these days. The Mexican criminal organizations, the Mexican criminal insurgencies, or the Mexican drug cartels. How are they gonna play in this shit? I assure you 100% that if we see another social movement or a civil war, these Mexican drug cartels are gonna be the strongest army of the Mexican government, no doubt. They're gonna side with the Mexican government and not with the civil population.